Fabulous. All right, so we're recording now. Thank you so much for being here today. Really excited for this conversation.
It's great to be here.
Okay, so what does the word just healthcare system look like to you?
To me, a just healthcare system is one in which everyone is taken care of, everyone can thrive, everyone has access to preventive care, people are treated with dignity and respect, their healthcare needs and their emotional needs are cared for while they're in the healthcare system. It's a system in which from the time you're born to the time that you die, that your needs are put first by healthcare providers, and that the color of your skin or your tax bracket don't impact the kind of care that you get. Everyone gets access to high quality healthcare that is responsive to their needs.
So I was wondering if you could just offer up an analogy to help understand what the financialization of healthcare concept means in plain language.
One of the clearest things that comes to my mind is the analogy that major healthcare systems of all stripes, but particularly like major hospitals with large endowments, they're actually right now essentially a financial institution that has a small subsidiary that provides healthcare. Most of their money comes from their investments. That's why they have sprawling real estate portfolios. They're buying up more and more property, which is tax exempt because they're nonprofits. And so they're actually depleting the tax base of the local community, which has, of course, adverse health consequences. Their primary goal at the end of the day is to grow their investment, to grow their endowment. As healthcare becomes financialized, what we see is extractive policies being put into place that are aimed at taking money and value out of the healthcare system, and instead of having that money and those resources go towards ensuring healthcare, ensuring that patients are treated well and recover, that money is actually taken out of the system and paid out to investors. Black and brown communities have been suffering from decades of really centuries of disinvestment. And so there are already disparities in healthcare outcomes within Black and brown communities compared to wealthier white communities, or even poor white communities, actually. And so when you have a financialized healthcare system, or as a healthcare system becomes increasingly financialized and becomes more driven by extraction than the provision of healthcare, it compounds the harm in these communities that have already been suffering from decades and centuries of disinvestment. Corporations know that if they can concentrate the harm on Black and brown communities, they can get away with more stuff. For example, the fact that diabetes drugs, which is heavily considered to be a racialized disease that impacts Black and brown folks a lot more than white folks, that diabetes drugs are way too expensive.
So how is structural racism in particular a part of financialization of healthcare, and what can be done to dismantle it?
So one of the key things that's happened over the past 50 years in our economy is that the financial sector has really gained outsized power. Over time, what's happened is that, as we've seen the deregulation of Wall Street, that actually most of the money in the economy is produced by moving money around. The biggest corporations, the most profitable corporations, don't actually make money in the US, don't actually make money from making goods or providing services. Most of their money comes from their investments, it comes from bets that they're making, and so forth. And the thing is that what that's done is it's also led to this growth model. The corporations, in order to make their investors happy, they don't just need to be profitable, they have to show growth, which means they have to be more profitable this year than they were last year. And the only way you can do that is by cutting corners, by dodging taxes, by screwing over your customers, and in the case of healthcare, your patients. And again, one of the key things that we know is it's easier to do all of those things if you can racialize those issues. What we've seen is that drugs that are for diseases that are heavily concentrated in Black communities, for example, actually have much higher prices. If you look at drug companies that are bought by hedge funds, the drug price increases were drastically higher than drug companies that were not hedge fund owned. It's this thing that once Wall Street takes over a company in the healthcare sector, they bring the Wall Street business model, which is fundamentally incompatible with healthcare. And so the business model is we need to maximize our profits. We know that the only way that you can really maximize profits out of healthcare is by shortchanging patients. It's also happening with hospitals that are being directly bought out by private equity firms, or emergency room departments that are being outsourced to private equity firms, or ambulance companies that are being outsourced to and being sold to private equity firms.
How is Acre working to dismantle the financialization of healthcare so everyone can live their healthiest life?
We think the only way to fight back against the financialized healthcare system is by organizing millions and millions of people to directly take on the corporations that are driving financialization. So, of course, the challenge with that is that if you go knock on doors and say, hey, do you want to take on this private equity company? People will look at you and say, what? What do you want me to do? And so what we need to do is be able to talk about the issues that people actually care about in their communities and educate folks about the role that financial actors are playing in that harm. We're talking about the impact that they're feeling, whether it's the fact that the local hospital closed, the fact that their parents couldn't get access to the drugs that they needed, the fact that their kids aren't able to afford EpiPens to deal with their food allergies. We talk to folks about the issues that they're actually facing in their lives and then connect the dots from that back to here's why this exists and here's who's responsible for that. And we know that the only way that we're going to achieve structural changes on this is by making the money of the profiteers toxic to our politicians. So that our politicians know that if they are doing the bidding of these financial actors, that at the end of the day, we're going to expose that, and that their constituents will know that they were in bed with the vultures that actually stripped their economy and that dismantled their healthcare. What we have is a system in which profit is put before people. It's not a matter of what corporations can do, it's a matter of how do we actually make them do it. And so we need to change the analysis for them so that they understand that their current actions are more costly than the profits they intend to make. That can take on different forms. It can be reputational damage. If these folks don't want to be named and shamed, let's actually unmask the role these folks are playing in the crisis that we're seeing. There are heads of firms that are gutting healthcare systems that are on the boards of charities for children's health. Let's actually expose that hypocrisy.
Great. Well, I think that's a wrap.